Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. I'm back today to talk historical fiction. As you know, June is when we are going to be hosting the Historical Fiction Readathon, which is an event that is co-hosted by myself, Shelley Swearingen, Gloria Z. Thompson, Brittany over at Literally Smitten, and Melinda over at Web of Stories. And I thought in honour of that, I would do a repeat video of one I did a few years ago, which is my historical fiction timeline. Back in 2022, I went through all of the historical fiction that I had read in chronological order, not by publication date, but by the date that the book is set in. For ease of the timeline, I was picking the earliest date in the book, at least the earliest date that a good amount of events take place in. So flashbacks I would see as a bit of an anomaly and I wouldn't include those. And though in my historical fiction tier ranking videos, I do include things like Greek myth retellings because they are vaguely set in the past, I don't include them on this timeline just due to the fact that they don't have a set date that they're taking place a lot of the time. And if we don't have like a set timeline, I'm not going to include them. But I am including historical fiction where the characters are fictional themselves. I include things like Shakespeare plays, classics that are set in an earlier time frame. You will see books that I mentioned in that previous video, of course, but I do think it's really interesting to see where my new historical fiction reading, or at least the historical fiction reading I've done over the last 3 years, really slots in. I do feel like I've been filling in some gaps in my medieval historical fiction reading, though I've not been reading very much more modern, like 20th century setting based historical fiction. And if you do see any gaps that you think I should fill, do let me know if any of your book recommendations. I would love to hear from you. But without much further ado, let's just get straight into my timeline, going from the earliest set book through to the latest. I have a rough date of 1995 as my stop point for this. Number one, it works because that is exactly 30 years ago. I know a lot of people use 30 years as their limit for how far back historical fiction can be, but also it's quite nice because that's my birth year. And I'm quite happy to say anything before that is historical. So yes, let's just get straight into the timeline. Coriolanus by William Shakespeare. Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. Antony and Cleopatra by William Shakespeare. The Testament of Mary by Colum Tabine. The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. The House with the Golden Door by Elodie Harper. The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper. The Emperor's Babe by Bernardine Evaristo. Lady Macbethed by Isabel Schuyler. Macbeth by William Shakespeare. The Lady of the English by Elizabeth Chadwick. The Captive Queen by Alison Weir. Matrix by Lauren Groff. The Revolt by Clara Dupont Manaud. The Lost Queen by Carol McGrath. Essex Dogs by Dan Jones. The Wolves of Winter by Dan Jones. The Outcasts of Time by Ian Mortimer. Hurdy-Gurdy by Christopher Wilson. The Good Wife of Bath by Karen Brooks. Richard II by William Shakespeare. Joan by Catherine J. Chen. For Thy Great Pain Have Mercy on My Little Pain by Victoria Mackenzie. Henry V by William Shakespeare. Cecily by Annie Garthwaite. The King's Mother by Annie Garthwaite. Elizabeth of York, The Last White Rose by Alison Weir. Richard III by William Shakespeare. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. A Dangerous Inheritance by Alison Weir. Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. A Little Trickery by Rosanna Pike. Catherine of Aragon, The True Queen by Alison Weir. Henry VIII, The Heart and the Crown by Alison Weir. Anne Boleyn, A King's Obsession by Alison Weir. Catherine Parr, The Sixth Wife by Alison Weir. Jane Seymour, The Haunted Queen by Alison Weir. Mary I, Queen of Sorrows by Alison Weir. Catherine Howard, The Tainted Queen by Alison Weir. Anna of Clever, Queen of Secrets by Alison Weir. Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. The Lady Elizabeth by Alison Weir. Disillusion by C.J. Sansom. Innocent Traitor by Alison Weir. Firebrand by Elizabeth Fremantle. The Marriage Game by Alison Weir. The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Rizzio by Denise Mina. The Tower by Flora Carr. How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. King of Shadows by Susan Cooper. Disobedient by Elizabeth Fremantle. The Familiars by Stacey Halls. Costanza by Rachel Blackmore. The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. The Crucible by Arthur Miller. The Instrumentalist by Harriet Constable. The House of Fortune by Jessie Burton. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. The Secret Diaries of Charles Ignatius Sancho by Patterson Joseph. The Foundling by Stacey Halls. The Intoxicating Mr. Lavelle by Neil Blackmore. Homegoing by Yarg Yassi. The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock by Imogen Hermes Gower. The Weather Woman by Sally Gardner. Love and Fury by Samantha Silver. Bone China by Laura Purcell. Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. Miss Marley by Vanessa LaFay. War and Peace by Lev Tolstoy. Learned by Heart by Emma Donoghue. When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare. Charlotte by Helen Moffat. Mary or the Birth of Frankenstein by Anna Eckhout. Puck and Prejudice by Leah Riley. The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. Longbourn by Jo Baker. Unequal Affections by Laura S. Ormanstern. The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. The Dutch SDL by Tessa Dare. The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Fanny by Rebecca F. John. A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting by Sophie Irwin. A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. 9 Rules to Break When Romancing a Rake by Sarah MacLean. The Good People by Hannah Kent. Glasstown by Isabel Greenberg. Middlemarch by George Eliot. The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. Devotion by Hannah Kent. Bellman and Black by Diane Setterfield. Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. The Language of Food by Annabel Abbs. Miss Austen by Jill Hornby. The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hurst by Katie Lumsden. Bronte's Mistress by Finola Austin. The Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas. The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. The Secrets of Hartwood Hall by Katie Lumsden. James by Percival Everett. The Master of Petersburg by J.M. Coetzee. Beloved by Toni Morrison. Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. Fane by Anne-Marie MacDonald. The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley. The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. No Life for a Lady by Hannah Dolby. The Wolf Wilder by Catherine Rundle. Rooftoppers by Catherine Rundle. Birdsong by Sebastian Vaux. Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. The Bookbinder of Jericho by Pip Williams. In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. Journey's End by R.C. Sheriff. As Bright as Heaven by Susan Masoner. The Silent Stars Go by Sally Nichols. Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. The Diviners by Libba Bray. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Atonement by Ian McEwan. The Animals of Lockwood Manor by Jane Healey. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Megorian. The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne. The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. Still Life by Sarah Winman. Chocolate Cake with Hitler by Emma Craigie. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary N. Schaffer and Annie Barrows. Brooklyn by Colum Tabine. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. The Reader by Bernard Schlink. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. On Chesil Beach by Ian McEwan. A Terrible Kindness by Joe Browning Rowe. Half of the Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Silver Sparrow by Tiari Jones. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Dawnie Walton. Swan Song by Kaylee Greenberg Jeffcott. The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. Long Island by Colum Tabine. The Confession by Jessie Burton. Stay With Me by Ayabami Adebayo. Foster by Claire Keegan. Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Carol Rifka Brunt. And finally, Mr. Pip by Lloyd Jones. So there we go. That is my list of all of the historical fiction that I have read, at least that I can remember that I have read, as of my filming date of the 29th of May. And obviously, since I'm doing the historical fiction readathon, I'll be adding plenty more to this list. And I would love to hear any recommendations that you have. Anything that you think based on what I've read already that you think I would particularly like, but also anywhere that I could fill gaps in my historical timeline. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.